Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile 2 video. In Path of Exile 2 we're getting the 0.2 Dawn of the Hunt expansion coming out, if you want to call it an expansion. Lots of new content, and one of the prime things with that is going to be 5 new Ascendancy classes. I came up with 3 build ideas, kind of build around ideas, and they're going to start off from simple and go to a little bit more complex. So I'm going to go through those. I think there are some very powerful synergies. There's lots I haven't thought of, I'm sure, lots that other people are going to come up with, and I'm very excited to see some of the new builds that come out. But starting off with the simplest, I'm going to get right into it. We have one of the new Ascendancies, which is called the Smith of Kitava, and pulling up his Ascendancy tree here, we have a nice little combo we can get going, and that is going to kind of hinge around Smith's Masterwork. Interesting thing about Smith's Masterwork is that it's a 1-point Ascendancy and you allocate it for free, and then you take your Ascendancy points and put them into these various effects that'll modify your body armor, provided it is a normal body armor, meaning it can't have any mods. So just white. I'm assuming it can still have sockets with things socketed into it and quality, all that kind of thing. Just has to be normal rarity. Once you have that, you can start putting these on. I assume you could, if you wanted to, put all 8 of your points and just make a really buffed out body armor using this, but that's not where I'm going to go. Most builds are going to be using either 2, 4, or 6 points. In this case, I'll be using 4 points for this particular idea. The main point hinges around basically getting all of your defenses you'll ever need from specifically your Ascendancy, so you can go pure offense on your tree and on your gear. We'll be taking Forged in Flame, which makes modifiers to maximum fire resistance, also grant maximum cold and lightning resist, and as a requisite for that we need Coal Stoker first. Modifiers to fire resist also grant cold and lightning resist at half the value, so if you have 80 fire resist, you get 40 cold and lightning resist. Can be very strong, very nice with, jewelry or things with just high fire resist rolls. Should make it very easy to cap out. Now the nice thing is that the max resist you can get is 90%, and it's quite easy to reach that, becoming basically immune or close to immune to elemental damage. But then on top of that, you can also get quite a significant amount of physical damage and chaos damage mitigation. So using this, we'll be taking Flowing Metal. So this is 4 points right here, and then we'll be spending 4 more points. So Flowing Metal, which will give us +5 to max fire resist, that'll bring us up to 80. Very easy right there. To get up to 90, we are going to be utilizing a couple of different uniques. Simply, we're going to be using a belt called Infernal Clasp, which can give up to 5 to maximum fire resist. And then we will also be using a shield, a classic shield, which is going to be Rise of the Phoenix, which should be right here. +5 to max fire resist. And it's as simple as that. You're at 90 max res, and you're getting fire resistance already from the Rise of the Phoenix. And you are also, I believe, getting some fire resist from Infernal Clasp. In fact, up to 50%, and with Corruption, quite a bit higher, up to 60%, I believe. Maybe not quite that, but actually it is 60% max. So yeah, you can get quite a good amount of fire resist just from these 2 items, on top of the fact that you can also get as far as, and if you get perfect corruptions, you could potentially even drop the Ascendancy point as well. If you get good corruptions on both of them, get the pumped up max fire resist, you can just get rid of Flowing Metal. Now beyond Flowing Metal, other notable things you can take: Molten Symbol, which makes it so that you get 25% of physical damage from hits taken as fire damage, very strong for mitigation, makes your armor more powerful as it will lower the physical damage, which means the hit won't be as high, which means armor will be more effective. This is a classic effect to boost up armor in PoE 1, is just stacking a lot of this. There's not a lot of physical taken as another source, non-physical in Path of Exile 2. There's quite a bit in Path of Exile 1, but this is a good source for it. And then On top of that, we'll also be taking Dedication to Kitava, making it so body armor grants armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits. That'll be helpful. And then lastly, probably early on, you'll want to take Tantalum Alloy until you get good enough gear to where you don't need this. This will just sort your resistances out. And then after that point, you can get whatever you want as your last one, Kitavan Engraving for a bunch of max life. You can get some regen. I think Internal Layer would be really nice, which gives you 50% reduced critical damage bonus from enemies hitting you. And that basically makes crits much less effective against you, and crits are going to be a lot of what can potentially kill someone. But because there's not percentage max life, Kitavan Engraving is also a very good choice. So that's kind of the setup there. Very simple, sorts out your defenses. You can build whatever you want with this. It doesn't have to be a mace build. You can do spears, you can do a spellcaster. You just have a bunch of defense, and the only thing limiting your build is where you start on the skill tree from there. You can go ES, you can go evasion, you can go any kind of hybrid armor evasion. Obviously, if you are going to be taking Dedication to Kitava, you want to be implementing armor in some capacity, whether it be armor ES, armor evasion, but you'll definitely want some of that. Otherwise, you can simply take other nodes, whatever suits your needs. All right, so going on to the next combo. This one I'm very excited about. There's currently something in the game that cannot stay as it is with this setup. So this is our new Lich class, and it'll be for the Witch. And the main combo I'm using here is going to be Eternal Life and Etziri's Disdain. And Etziri's Disdain is a unique helmet, which makes it so percentage of damage taken bypasses energy shield, and you get a bunch of maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. Assuming there aren't any changes to this, then you will be looking at something very interesting, because you get Soulless Form, which makes it so 10% of damage taken bypasses energy shield, but you have no inherent mana regeneration, and then you regenerate mana equal to 6% of maximum life per second. So this is going to be a hybrid build, which is actually quite nice. And then you get Eternal Life, which your life cannot change while you have energy shield. Interesting thing about this is if your life can't change, then the damage bypassing energy shield just dissipates. It does nothing. So as long as you have energy shield up, you are going to be taking less damage. The reason this is so nice with Etziri's Disdain is with a corruption, you can get up to 30%. So that's literally 30 plus 10% bypass. That's just 40% less damage taken from all sources all the time. Now, looking into some other things you can do with bypasses, I'm not going to get quite to the most broken thing yet, but you have the Blacked Out Hexer's Robe, which makes it so damage over time bypasses your energy shield, which means you just straight up become fully immune to damage over time. Damage over time isn't a huge problem at the moment, but if it ever becomes an issue, then you can just slap this onto that Ascendancy and become immune to damage over time. Now, currently, we have Divine Flesh. All damage taken bypasses energy shield. Obviously, this cannot exist at the same time as this Ascendancy. If it does, then it's an oversight, because simply by taking Eternal Life and by taking Divine Flesh, if I'm understanding everything correctly, you would be immune to damage fully. You would not be able to take damage at all. So, I don't think it'll be a thing. I'm hoping it won't be a thing, but if it is, yeah, they'll have to patch it immediately. It'll just be too broken to actually use. There are a lot of other good things about this Ascendancy, but I think this is the most interesting and broken thing. You can get this Crystalline Phylactery, which gives you a big boost to one of your jewels, and it gives you a free jewel slot. Jewels can be very powerful. 100% increased effect of just a really premium jewel could be a big boost, but it is 2 points for an Ascendancy point. interestingly enough, 20% increased maximum energy shield leading up to that as well, which is very good for a small node, which kind of makes up for this, especially considering unless they change something, you can currently roll 20% of on energy shield on a jewel. So you would get from these 2 points 60% energy shield, and there's even another combo on top of that, which is going to be somewhere in here. Where are you? Here we are. So 100% increased effect of jewel socket passive skills contained corrupted magic jewels. So it's 100% increased, and this is also 100% increased. So I'm assuming it would just triple the effect instead of doubling it and then doubling it again to be 4 times. So you could get, 60% energy shield plus some sort of big like crit multi or damage modifier on this as well. So there's definitely some interesting stuff here. And then you have cursed enemies killed by you or your allies in your presence have a 33% chance to explode, dealing a bunch of their life as chaos damage. So you have a nice little clear skill here. You have Unholy Might, but you lose 5% mana per second. I guess the way to kind of mitigate this would be with Soulless Form, since you don't have inherent mana regeneration. You would simply have a much higher life pool than mana pool, but that might be a little difficult to pull off, especially if you want to pull off one of the combos that you can do with this, which is to simply have Ghost Writhe as well to give yourself an even larger ES pool. So you could give yourself just between the Atziri's helmet and Ghost Writhe, you can have a huge ES pool, which can be pumped up to pretty insane numbers just given some of the stuff that you have on the tree as well. And then you simply you're not going to have a large enough life pool to kind of overcome this. You would, I guess, get some mana regenerate, and maybe that would counteract it and you could run that. And the last kind of option you have here is non-channeling spells cost an additional 3% of max energy shield, and then non-channeling spells do 30% more damage. Spending energy shield does not interrupt recharge. So I guess the way you would use Eldritch Empowerment would be to go Evasion, Energy Shield Hybrid, or Block as well. Possibly all 3. You could go ES Evasion Hybrid with Block, and then like a one-hander with a wand or something. That is a potential option you could have as well. And this is also a 20% ES node leading up to this on top of that. So get just crazy ES, take 40% less damage straight up, very strong. Lots of options here as well. Once again, it's mostly defensive, but let's get into the last combo. And I would be remiss if I did not have a Huntress Ascendancy on here. We have the Ritualist, and this is actually a combo that has been available for a while, and I am going to have to pull up POE because there's a lot more to this one. But basically, the combo is going to be Mind Phylacteries, and of course you need intricate sigils as well to lead up to it. So you get 1 free charm slot. Nice thing about this is because of what we're going to be doing on the tree, you're going to get 3 charm slots, which you're going to need for this. So there's a bunch of charm stuff down here near where the Huntress would start, which is nice, and that is going to be part of what we're going to be doing. But the other things we're going to do are going to involve some uniques. So the main unique that is going to kind of trigger everything off is going to be the Fire Flower Solar Amulet, which it has good stats. It has rarity, spirit, fire skill levels, regen, all pretty nice if you're running a fire skill. You don't need to. You could just run this and then run any amount of fire damage so that you can ignite enemies. But you take 100 fire damage when you ignite an enemy, and then from there you are going to need a charm that you can trigger. Which in this case, the reason I'm using Fire Flower is because all you have to do is use a Ruby Charm, which is used when you take fire damage from a hit. So you Fire Flower, you ignite things, that hits you with fire damage, and then that will trigger your Ruby Charm. And what is this going to do? This is kind of going to work with the tree, what we need the tree for. So the main things we're going to want here are these charm activation chance nodes, and ideally as well, on top of that, you'll want to get increased effect of these nodes, which you can get with a unique jewel. Specifically, going to the jewels here, we have, there we are. Oh, we're going to be doing this specifically with a time loss jewel. It's not going to be one of the unique ones. You get one of the rare ones that gives the 35% increased effect. That would be ideal, and you put it in this jewel slot right here. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to get these, which make it so you have a 10% chance when a charm is used. Use another charm without consuming charges. And of course, while we're here, may as well get Lucky Rabbit Foot and Hunter's Talisman. And then on top of that, we have, there's a bunch of other charm stuff that you can get, and we probably will get like the increased charges gained so that we don't have to rely fully. And probably most importantly is going to be the thicket warding here. And you do not want to get charm duration, or as little of it as you can. So, this one node is fine, but specifically trying to avoid charm duration because I don't think charms reactivate while they're active. So that will limit the uptime of this combo. So you are going to want, so you're not going to want like most of this. You might get the small nodes if you still need more charm charges gained. But the nice thing is with this Ascendancy, unlike before, you don't need a lot of the charm charges. Now, what are the payoffs for this? Because this seems like a lot just to have, basically the idea is you're going to chain trigger your charms all the time. And then if you don't have enough charges, you'll simply have 25% of your max mana sacrificed, and that will help kind of cover the cost. And if you have, this shouldn't trigger too often, but one of the ways we mitigate that is through Thicket Warding, which will recover 5% of mana, including when we use the when we get the free activations, I believe, when a charm is used. So, and does this say use? To use another charm, yes. So in theory, this should help keep our mana up. So this could be used as basically a mana battery as you kind of chain trigger, and more often than not, you do have the charges, but occasionally when you don't, you get to use the mana. And then the payoffs for this are going to be related to the things that can roll on charms. Specifically, we are going to get Guard. You're going to want Guard during effect. So you'll have, and then the other thing that you're going to want is unique charms. We don't know what a lot of them do, but if they're very powerful ones, so you'll want like a rare one with Guard to constantly trigger a defensive buff to give you basically more HP or more of a health pool, basically up all the time as well. And then we have charms like this. We don't know all the unique ones, and depending on how powerful they are, this build could be better or worse, but this one's just simply constant onslaught, which is quite strong. Onslaught's not easy to get in this game. All you have to do is get affected by a slow normally, but it's hard to do that to yourself, and actually that's one of the things I was thinking of. But the main reason we're going to do it, or the main way we're going to do it, is simply by having the charm activation chance trigger that, and if possible another unique charm or something else that's very easy to trigger. You'll sometimes have these trigger just incidentally, and then you'll have possibly a belt with reduced charm charges used and increased charm charges gained. And then, potentially on your magic charms, you'll have the mod that gains a certain amount of charges per second. And once you have all of these, yeah, it's a lot of points, but there's other good stuff near where you're going here, so it shouldn't be too big of a waste. There's plenty of stuff you can get in these regions you're going off into, depending on what kind of build you're doing. And once again, you can do this in pretty much any build. So potentially you get this combo off, you get infinite charm uptime for 3 charms without having to get any charm slots on your belt, and potentially, depending on how powerful unique charms we get, you could get some really powerful effects from that. So that is kind of my other idea. And the no-brainer for your other 2 points is going to be, boy, this is an exciting ascendancy in general, but +1 ring slot and then 25% increased bonuses gained from equipped rings and amulets. So obviously, if you played last patch, Chase Belt, extremely powerful, used basically by everyone, including myself, in the end game, is going to be our good friend here, Ingenuity. 40 to 80% increased bonuses gained from equipped rings. Extremely powerful. So not only are you getting 50% more ring, which is basically like if you have similar quality rings, that's basically starting Ingenuity 75%, but then you're getting 25% increased on top of that, and that's multiplied by the 150% ring. So you're getting 25%. So just mathematically, assuming you have 3 basically identical rings or as close to power parity as you can get, that'll be 1.5, 1.25. So that's actually better than a top end rolled Ingenuity. If Ingenuity still exists on top of that, then you put Ingenuity on as well. You get all these super buffed rings and you are absolutely cruising. So you have infinite charm use, doing whatever you need it to do. You can use it for utility, grants you a bunch of extra guard, possibly gives, onslaught, could give you immunities to certain ailments, that kind of thing. All sorts of things charms can do. Even, of course, rarity, if you want to get some extra rarity via that. And then you get the equivalent of an 87% Ingenuity right off the bat, essentially, more or less. And you have to take a penalty. You have an extra ring, you just take reduced resistances, simply because, well, you're going to be able to make those up with the extra ring slot very easily. It's quite easy to get 15 all res on a ring. You just get 1 element ring and then you get 2 other elements, and then anything else is kind of gravy from there. Honestly, minus 15 all res isn't even a huge deal compared to +1 ring slot, and you can probably make up for it by other means as well. But reduced spirit and reduced max mana are 2 big of downsides in my opinion. All right, and those are kind of the 3 build idea combos that I have. The last one, a little bit complex, but it may or may not be worth the payoff. If you don't end up doing that, you can of course just go the headhunter route. That's fine too. I actually think Ritualist might be my start, or if I don't like it, although I am thinking that I am going to like the Ritualist, but if not, I just simply go back to Invoker, and I'm going to play a Spear build no matter what. So I'll play a Spear Invoker or a Spear Ritualist. It's more a matter of seeing what I want to do with that Spear build. So hope you enjoyed. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I'll see you next time. Bye.